Evaluation is the process of determining the merit, worth, or value of something. Wow, right? That is a pretty powerful definition to kick us off today. Because our ultimate goal here is to take what often feels like just raw, chaotic project facts and actually extract true meaning and value from them. We're here to take numbers and transform them into something that genuinely matters.
So welcome to this Week 12 Explainer. Today, we're going to completely demystify the entire back half of the project evaluation lifecycle. We're focusing squarely on data collection and analysis. Honestly, getting your data management right is absolutely crucial. Without it, you can't conduct a thorough evaluation, and you certainly can't draw the kind of meaningful conclusions that actually improve projects and policies in the real world. Here is our roadmap for the journey today. First, we'll talk about gathering the right data. Second, analyzing the evidence. Third, interpreting and synthesizing. Fourth, visualizing those insights. And finally, number 5, communicating the findings to your stakeholders. Okay, Section 1, gathering the right data. So where do we even begin? I want you to imagine you're assessing a brand new community program. You've got limited time, a tight budget, and a whole room full of stakeholders who are eager for answers. You literally cannot measure every single thing that happens in the program, right? It's just not possible. And that brings us to our first major concept, the agricultural metaphor of winnowing. Just like farmers separate the valuable wheat from the useless chaff, we have to filter out our evaluation questions. We've got to ruthlessly prioritize our data collection. Think about it. There is zero value in tracking a trend from point X if you don't even have baseline data for point X to begin with. It's kind of like trying to measure your weight loss without ever stepping on a scale on day one. So we winnow our questions down to only the most critical, measurable ones. So once we have our questions dialed in, how do we actually select our subjects? Well, we basically have 3 main paths. A census looks at literally all available data, the entire population. But let's face it, that's rarely possible, so we usually use sampling. Simple random sampling gives everyone an equal chance of selection, which is great because it gives you the statistical power you need to generalize your findings. On the flip side, we have purposive sampling. This is non-probability. We use it when we need really targeted, in-depth insights from specific community members who are the most relevant to our study. Now, no matter how you collect your data, you've absolutely got to respect the data quality triangle: reliability, validity, and timeliness. This is crucial. If even one of these 3 elements is missing, the credibility of your entire evaluation basically goes out the window. Think about it. Data that's totally accurate but delivered 3 years too late? Useless for decision-making. Data that you get incredibly fast but is completely unreliable? That's actually dangerous. You really need all 3. Moving right along to Section 2, analyzing the evidence. We've got our raw material, but now we need the right tools and paradigms to actually make sense of it all. To make sense of our data, we lean on 2 main paradigms. First up, quantitative data. This is the positivist approach. It's all about the hard numbers, how many, how much, and statistical significance. Now, contrast that with qualitative data, which is the constructionist approach. This one focuses heavily on interpreting the meanings people generate from their daily realities and the actual human implications of a project. Ultimately, it's the difference between tracking the cold, hard numbers and truly understanding the human stories living behind those numbers. But here's the best part. You don't actually have to pick just one side. Let me introduce you to methodological pluralism, which you might know better as mixed methods. Think of this as our narrative bridge. By combining qualitative and quantitative approaches, we get this beautiful, holistic view. The numbers tell us exactly what is happening across a broad population, while the stories tell us exactly why it's happening. They literally need each other to form a complete, airtight, evaluative judgment. And to manage all of this complex mixed methods analysis, thankfully, we don't have to do it all by hand with a bunch of highlighters and sticky notes on a whiteboard anymore. Modern software options can automate and organize the whole workflow. Tools like R and Qdor are absolutely fantastic for quantitative or mixed environments. If you're looking at qualitative analysis, TagWet is a great open-source tool. And of course, your standard internet-based survey tools often come with built-in analytic capacities for really quick instant reporting. All right, Section 3, interpreting and synthesizing. This right here is the heavy lifting. This is the phase where we guide all that analyzed data to become concrete, actionable judgments. The synthesis process is where we physically merge our data streams. You take your routine monitoring data and your periodic evaluation data, and you integrate them against your performance indicators and targets. They filter all the way through your program theory and assumptions, finally arriving at a solid evaluative conclusion. And that conclusion is what ultimately leads to your actual lessons and recommendations. So let's look at what data synthesis actually looks like in practice. We map raw data directly against our targets to find the aggregate meaning. Say our target was 75% participation, but our monitoring data shows we only hit 45%. We obviously need to dig deeper. Well, our evaluation data, maybe from qualitative interviews, tells us exactly why. Low motivation due to a language barrier. So our final data synthesis brings it all together. We achieved considerably less participation than intended, specifically because of a barrier that we can now address.
The key takeaway here is that synthesis isn't just summarizing. Anybody can summarize. Synthesis is the critical step of extrapolating why anticipated changes did or did not take place. We have to draw smart inferences based on the program theory to determine exactly what has changed, what hasn't changed at all, and what actually drove those outcomes. Section 4. Visualizing the insights. Making your data visual. Because look, all of those brilliant insights and evaluative judgments, they're essentially useless if your stakeholders cannot understand them. Making data visual is an absolute must in modern project management. Enter the data dashboard. These are interactive visual tools that take multiple dense metrics and consolidate them into a single, highly navigable document. Tools like Tableau or Microsoft Power BI are absolute lifesavers here. They help translate incredibly complex analytics into formats that are actually accessible, allowing leaders to make rapid, informed decisions at a single glance. When you visualize metrics side by side, it instantly reveals these hidden relationships that you might otherwise miss. For example, your cost savings metric might be soaring, looking great, but right next to it, your patient satisfaction metric could be dropping off a cliff. A quick visual instantly highlights when one metric is accidentally working against another. Similarly, visualizing demography elegantly breaks down the different stakeholder groups you've reached during a program. At a glance, you can highlight your demographic reach and immediately see if the program actually aligned with your intended target audience. It's clean, it's fast, and it communicates a very complex demographic breakdown in literally seconds. And finally, Section 5, Communicating the Findings, Packaging Those Insights. We have officially arrived at the final leg of our information journey, where we package our visualized insights up and send them out into the real world. The golden rule of communication is incredibly simple. Know your audience. A massive 200-page technical final report is almost never the best way to ensure your evaluation makes an impact. Frontline delivery staff, they need actionable operational feedback they can use tomorrow. Government ministers or senior executives, they need high-level strategic summaries. Tailoring the message to the end user is absolutely the key to uptake. Because let's be real, dissemination doesn't just mean attaching a PDF to an email and calling it a day anymore. It means executive summaries, punchy policy briefs, interactive dashboards, infographics, or hey, even explainers just like this one. It also includes in-person community forums where you can speak directly with the people affected. Evaluation reporting needs to be dynamic, it needs to be accessible, and it should be meticulously designed to foster real transparency and learning. So, as we wrap up this explainer on data collection and analysis, I really want to leave you with a final thought to challenge you. Ask yourself, is your data truly speaking to your audience, or is it just sitting on a dusty shelf somewhere? Always remember that the ultimate power of any evaluation lies entirely in its ability to drive real-world action and change. Thank you so much for diving into this structured journey with me.